What is going on, everybody? Today we're looking at some McFarlane Toys DC Direct Page Puncher Wave 9 figures. So in this wave, we have Wonder Woman and Superboy, so both of these look cool. Of course, we get the first appearance of Wonder Woman, so from the very first comic appearance, so looks good there. And then we also get Superboy, pretty similar to his first appearance. Of course, he doesn't have the jacket, which is kind of disappointing. They didn't put the leather jacket on this one like it is in the picture back there, but still cool to get that first design of Superboy there. Now, of course, we do also have the platinums that go with these. So for Wonder Woman, we have Steve Trevor, and then we have the new 52 Superboy for Superboy as well. So very awesome with those, especially Steve Trevor. Of course, if you've seen the Wonder Woman movie, we already know about him and everything. And then, like I said, just the new 52 version of Superboy. So a little bit different there. But these are page punchers, so I do want to show that they do include the comics in the back. So we get the Wonder Woman #1. So when Wonder Woman finally gets her own comic, so #1 issue from that, which looks cool. And then, of course, same for Superboy. So for his first issue as well, for Reign of Tomorrow. Of course, during the death of Superman, everything when he first came around. So very awesome for all four of these figures that I'm excited to check out. So let me get them open out of the box and we'll take a look at them together. So we're going to start off with Wonder Woman, who debuted in All-Star Comics #8 in October 1941, and then was later featured in Sensation Comics #1 from January 1942, until she finally got her own title of comic in Wonder Woman #1 in June 1942. And in this story, we see it follows Wonder Woman's return of Steve Trevor to America from Themyscira, and explains the creation of the Amazons by Aphrodite. So cool to get the first appearance of Wonder Woman. Now we have our Trinity all in their first appearance with Batman and Superman, which is cool to get her in this design. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the figure. Of course, we'll see the picture of her off the comic covered stuff that I think looks pretty good, but just trying to translate it into a figure I don't think looks the best, especially like with her hair design and stuff, where it's almost like a mullet, like a little bit of short curly hair on top going into the longer hair that curls there in the back. But she has her tiara, which looks nice, and of course, nice overall face design, you know, just about as good as it could be and stuff. Love like the little earring designs, like little red earrings, of course, almost like black lipstick, which I feel is kind of odd for the day and stuff, but it's got that on there as well. Then she has the red top with a nice big eagle on it, of course, like the American flag sort of design going into her outfit there, with the dress with all the stars on it and stuff on the blue field. She has her bracers on, of course, that can deflect bullets and all that. Bare leg going down to the boots, so she has the high heel boots there with mostly red design with the white on them as well. Looks pretty good there overall for the design. Like I said, I just feel it's a little bit looks awkward in the execution, but that's just, you know, trying to translate it into a modern day figure. But moon-wise, the head will twist all the way around. She can look down that far and then up just about that far, so not the best movements. Shoulders up to 90 with the butterfly and rotate around. We get a bicep twist, which I don't know with this design if it's going to really twist. It just moves a little bit there if you kind of force it back and forth. But then the double elbow joint that bends all the way up on itself and down to the wrist will twist all the way around and flex there on the ball joint, so back and forth. Then we get the ab crunch. It's probably just mostly at the waist with this because it seems pretty solid here in the midsection, so you have mostly crunch back and forth and twist around there at the waist. Then the hips will come up only about that far because of the skirting, and out to the side there as well. No thigh twist, but a double knee joint that fins up that far to the back, not far at all from kicking herself in the butt. And then down to the foot, rock back and forth and twist side to side, and no toe joint on the end, which is kind of different as well. And I'm surprised with the high heels. I'm not having too many issues getting her to stand. Obviously messing with her feet and stuff may have some more issues there, but not having too many issues getting her to stand, which is usually an issue, especially with high heel characters in the McFarlane here. So not bad at all for her. And then she comes with some accessories as well, mostly just hands. So we get a fist hand and a trigger finger hand. So we get those, which do look like they're pretty much the opposite of what she has on already, as well as a set of hands like this. So if you want to have more open sort of hands there, you get those options. Not really sure what I would want for Wonder Woman. And then of course we get her base to put on, which is nice with these that they have the little DC logo on them. So let's put her on the base. So there she stands up nice and easy on that. So nice to have her design there. And of course we have her card as well. So there's again what she looks like. Like I said, doesn't look like the execution's the best. Looks much nicer in the picture here compared to that. And of course I feel they should have darkened up the skirt because it's lighter blue where they did the darker blue again. So we'll see some similar to that as well. But looks good overall there. And of course have her story on the back of Diana Prince, which says the origin of Wonder Woman continues from All-Star Comics #8. The Amazon princess arrives in the man's world with wounded Steve Trevor This story also explains the origins of Wonder Woman's secret identity of Diana Prince and features the first appearance of Wonder Woman's invisible jet. So that's kind of cool. It tells you more specifically about the first comic there that she's from. So that's really nice overall. Now, as I said, kind of, I'd say somewhat similar version of Wonder Woman 4. Obviously, it's not. It's going to be a more modern design, but here is this version of Wonder Woman. Of course, a more modern design, but we got in the more classic outfit and stuff. And this is what I was talking about. So originally with like the normal version, this was like the platinum or whatever it is, but the normal version had the dark underwear or whatever with the stars. So like I said, it's similar to this. So I feel they should have switched it to that blue color. But there's our two older design appearances for Wonder Woman there, which look pretty good for that. And then, like I said, we now have our Trinity in their first appearance designs. So here we have Superman and Batman, which is pretty nice. Of course, it's weird seeing how short the Superman is, especially compared to Wonder Woman and Batman. But of course, to me, she's an Amazon, so she should be tall, but Batman should be shorter than in that case. But it looks good having our Trinity there in their first appearance designs. So really nice to get this version of Wonder Woman. And as I talked about, we also have Steve Trevor, who served as a pilot for the U.S. Air Corps during World War II. And while on a spy mission, he lost control of his plane and crossed a mystical boundary protecting Paradise Island, or Themyscira. Princess Diana then discovered the unconscious man and helped nurse him back to health, then escorting him back to his homeland. In America, she would disguise herself as Diana Prince, becoming a secretary for Steve's boss, and there they would fall in love and eventually get married until Steve's death in 1947. So really cool to also get Steve Trevor as a figure. Of course, this was a red platinum, so not easy to get, unfortunately, but nice to get, a whole separate figure of Steve Trevor here, again, from that first Wonder Woman comic design and stuff. So looks good, just looks like a man in the military. Of course, more, I'd say, in like dress uniform and stuff. So he has the hat on there with the little like eagle design, which kind of matches Wonder Woman's chest eye design, which is cool. Face design, which looks good overall. Nice eye design. Looks like he's kind of looking up a little, which is a little annoying. But the blonde hair and stuff, I was like, if you could get a different costume design, you could easily try and turn this into a Steve Rogers, so Captain America, which would be cool. But then we get his outfit design, so nice jacket design, nice sash over there connecting into the belt, and of course like the dark army green sort of colors there. Button shirt with a black tie underneath. Of course, all his rankings and stuff there, being a part of the military, looks good. And I love all like the gold buttons and stuff painted on, looks pretty nice. Then just some tan military pants with pockets on the side, down to the brown boots there on his feet, so it looks good. Oh, and brown gloves on his hands as well, so it looks good. Very basic design, just looks like your standard like military man design, nothing like too surprising or crazy bad or anything, but looks good for a Steve Trevor figure. Now, movement-wise, the head will twist all the way around, look down that far and up that far, so decent movements in the head there. Shoulders up to 90 with the butterfly and twist all the way around. We get a bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends all the way up on itself. Wrist will twist all the way around and flex on the ball joint there, back and forth. Then we should have ab crunch and stuff, but hidden behind the jacket, so it crunches a little back and forth there, and will twist around, especially at the waist. The hips will come up that far. Yeah, that's about as far as I can get it there, and out to the side that far. No thigh twist or anything, but a double knee joint that bends up that far to the back, not far at all from kicking himself in the butt, and then down to the foot rock back and forth and twist side to side with a toe joint on the end. So pretty decent overall for the movements and stuff. Of course, the outfit design getting in the way a bit, but nothing really like inhibiting him from moving too much. Now, accessory-wise, he does come with a gun, so good to get a gun with a McFarlane figure here. Just a little pistol design. Of course, we can put this into his hand. He doesn't have any like pockets or holsters or anything to put it in, so just putting it in his hand is our best option there. So there we have Steve Trevor ready to attack if need be, and it also, of course, comes with the same sort of base we'll put him on. So there, that'll keep him standing, and of course we get his card as well, so there's a nice picture of him, not from the same comic. Of course, it looks like the Themyscira there in the background, but nice Steve Trevor picture and all that looks, relatively similar. And then we get his story on the back, and it says, a true warrior, decorated pilot, and respected command officer, Steve Trevor met the Amazon Diana when his plane crashed on hidden island Themyscira. She nursed him back to health, and after winning a fierce worthiness contest, escorted him and the bodies of fallen comrades back to the outside world. A veteran soldier, well respected in the intelligence community, Trevor became her advocate, guiding her through the labyrinth of security organizations such as the DEO, Argus, and inevitably her lover. So there's nice more backstory there for Steve Trevor. And of course, now that we have him, we can bring him with Diana there as well. Of course, it's crazy to see again how tall she is even compared to him. So, which, like I said, she is an Amazonian, so she's supposed to be tall and all that, but just kind of crazy how tall she is. But that's really cool. Nicely represented there. But there we can have Diana and Steve Trevor together now. So really nice to get this Steve Trevor added to the collection. And next up, we have Superboy, also known as Con-El or Connor Kent. He was a clone of Superman created by Project Cadmus using Kryptonian DNA that was then aged to his mid-teens and implanted with a high school education. He was then set free by the Newsboy Legion before safeguard controls could be implanted in him, and one of those newsboys gave him a leather jacket that he began wearing. He would then arrive in Metropolis at the same time as Cyborg, Superman, Eradicator, and Steel, or John Henry Irons, to take the place of the dead Superman. Now, of course, he has Kryptonian physiology with yellow sun absorption, superhuman strength and speed, as well as flight, super hearing, super breath, heat vision, x-ray vision, and invulnerability. So nice to get more of that first appearance design of Superboy added to our collection. Of course, I forgot to grab the figures, but we could put them in with, as I mentioned, Cyborg, Superman, Eradicator, and Steel there to have our Death of Superman sort of characters here. So really nice for this design. Like, you know, it looks more like that Superboy. Of course, the biggest issue is that he's not wearing the leather jacket, which is really annoying. So I wish he would have that, but I don't know why they didn't include it, because I'll show you the past Superboy we had, which did have the jacket, which we could maybe try and switch it out, even though it wouldn't match design-wise and stuff. But it still looks decent overall. The face looks decent. Of course, the way it like sits on the body is always kind of weird, but I love how he's got like the shaved side of the head and almost like the bowl cut, which it was the 90s, so it would be more of a bowl cut, but it has some like flow and like some layerness to it and stuff, so it's not all just an exact bowl cut. But love how it still has the blue highlights on the hair and then all like the shaved designs in the side there, which is pretty nice. So just a decent, like I said, not perfect, but decent. Looks like even has an earring in there. And then we get his Superboy outfit design, which like I said, usually has a black leather jacket on over the top, so you don't see much of this, but it is the same design with the black up around his neck and shoulders. Then transitioning to the blue, very similar to Superman, with the Superman S on his chest there, which is nice. And then we start to go into the red for like the pants, so we get like this V-shaped design with all the belts, so he has like these belt straps and stuff around his waist, and then some wristbands and stuff there as well. Strap around his thigh for some reason with those red pants going down to the black boot that has the yellow straps on it as well, so he's got the yellow and black there quite a bit running throughout the body. So otherwise this looks pretty decent, like overall good. Like I said, the face is a little bit awkward in the way it especially sits on the body. Like I've tried to adjust it and I can't get it to look any better, but like I said, he just needs that leather jacket. I just don't know why they didn't include it. But movement wise, the head will twist all the way around, down that far and up that far at least, so it looks down pretty good but not up very good there. But then the shoulders come up to 90 with the butterfly and rotate around. We get a bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends all the way up on itself. Wrist will twist around and flex back and forth. Then we get the ab crunch, so the upper crunch back and forth and twist around, and then at the waist crunch and twist around. Then we go down to the hips. That'll come up towards 90 and out to the side to the splits there. No thigh twist, but a double knee joint that'll bend up that far to back, pretty much kicking himself in the butt. Down to the foot, rock back and forth, and twist side to side with the toe joint on the end. So pretty decent movements. You know, it's got that body we've seen before, you know, the smaller body that we say was like from Beast Boy and stuff, because that's always what I remember it being used in. So pretty decent overall with the movements, you know, no major issues or anything along with that. Now, accessorized, he does come with some additional hands, which again, the hands are pretty disappointing with this. So he comes with an open splayed out finger hands, or a relaxed hand, I guess you'd say, which matches with his right. And then we get a thumbs up finger hand for the right. So again, not like I really cared too much about either of those, which I just had two fist hands, so we'll get one unfortunately. So I may just switch out to the thumbs up just to make it a little different, especially for this version of Superboy. So with that, you can be like, that's right, I'm Superboy now. And of course, he also comes with the stand, so that'll keep him stable, and of course his card as well. So there's a nice picture design from early in the comics. Again, you can see the outfit design, but of course he has that black leather jacket on, so they even gave us a picture with that jacket, but not the figure, so very disappointed with that. And then we get his story on the back, which says some heroes are made, not born. A combination of Superman and Lex Luthor's DNA, Superboy was an outsider from his inception, raised in a lab and aged to maturity in the public spotlight. Superboy went from a young teenager with an attitude to a more mature veteran of the superhero team Young Justice. So there's some good story on him there. And overall, like I said, I like having the Superboy, especially more in like his first appearance design and stuff. I just wish he would have had the leather jacket, because that's, you know, kind of like a big part of his design and everything. So I wish we would have that. But as I mentioned, we've had other versions of Superboy, so here's the other version. Of course, this is a more modern design. You see a lot of the same influence and stuff, though. Still, like, you know, the straps and the same collars and everything. Like I said, this one comes with the leather jacket, but it's got that more modern design, because like we can try and like take the body and switch it from this body to give him the leather jacket, but he'd have the spikes and all that and stuff. But you can see the similarities in the design going from his first appearance to the little bit older design there, but still looks good for the Superboy. And then we also have the new 52 Superboy, who is also Connell. Now, he is a human Kryptonian hybrid clone of Jonathan Lane Kent that was created by the Nowhere organization as a way to cure Jonathan's illness and then be used to wage war against the metahumans. So it is a different version or a different like variation or whatever you want to call it of Superboy, of Connell, but it was just for the new 52, and then they eventually go back to like the normal Connell and stuff and switch it up. But he still has Kryptonian physiology and all the same powers, but he also has telekinesis and wears this black containment suit for some of his powers and stuff. So looks pretty good overall. Of course, head design is exactly the same, just has the red eyes this time, so they did switch that out, and doesn't seem to have at least as much as the blue highlights there in his hair, so a little bit different than that. But he shares the exact same body, so it's the same body as the last one, just painted all black this time with the red lines running through it for the new 52 design that we get there. So a red S on his chest, some red padding up on his shoulders, and of course all the red lines running all through about. I love how he still has like the Superman shield designs there on his hands and stuff as well, and those red lines continue down to just black there at the lower leg section. So looks good. Of course his head doesn't look like this in the comics and stuff, but they're just reusing that body because it is a platinum version here, so they should switch the head design out and stuff, but they, like I said, just use this for this Superboy. Movement's going to be all exactly the same because, like I said, it's the exact same figure, so I won't go over that again. And he also comes with the exact same hands, just in the black and red design, so we get the same thumbs up and the same relaxed hand. I may switch to the relaxed hand this time. So there we can just have Superboy sort of just standing there. He comes with the same base as all the others. So we have that, and he also comes with the exact same card as the last one, so same story, so don't need to read that again. Fortunately, they didn't specialize it for this like they did the Steve Trevor and everything. And of course, we've had other versions of Superboys. I showed you the past two. We also have, this was how Superboy looked like right before the new 52, so wearing more of the t-shirt and the blue jeans and stuff, so he looked like that before they switched to new 52, going with this design more and switching up the backstory, of Connell and everything. But looks decent overall. Like I said, wish they would have switched out the head design. They probably actually used this head just with their red eyes and stuff would probably be a little bit better there, because obviously he didn't look like this, didn't have this haircut and everything, so need all the different head design to make it more of that new 52 design. But overall, it's not like a great figure, especially for the new 52, because his body should be bigger and all that same sort of stuff, but at least they gave us the body for it, the main look with the black and red design, so that's all that really matters. We can easily try and switch out the head to something different. Well, that's to be it for our McFarlane Toys DC Direct Page Punchers Wave 9 figures, where we got Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor in the first appearance design for both of them, as well as Superboy and New 52 Superboy. So very cool to have all these figures. Really love, of course, the Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. Like I said, Wonder Woman doesn't have the best look, but that's just, going off her old look. And the first appearance, of course, same with like the Batman, Superman, not my favorite looks, but nice to just have their first appearance designs. So nice to have both of those. And then for Superboy, like I said, really like the Superboy, just wish he had the leather jacket, that'd make it better. And then it is cool that we got the new 52, but like I said, this isn't the exact perfect design. They could have definitely just released a separate figure with a bigger body, better head, and all that sort of stuff, but like I said, just what we got here for it. But as I said, and as usual, it's nice to just add these figures to our collection. So let me know what you thought of this wave down in the comments. If you enjoyed my review, let me know with that thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to see more. But I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all stay awesome out there, and I'll see you in our next review.